was going to try it. It's a female doctor and Elton out of Westerville.
And I have us all on record. Okay. 1, 2, we have 4 of us. We'll be a quorum. Thank you.
How you doing, Mom?
It's all righty.
Hanging in there, buddy. I had to cut some grass and I'm tired.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll try to sneak down that corner then.
How's your back doing today?
Sore.
Hang in.
Thank you for printing this off, Courtney.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I don't feel like running no marathon.
Oh, I know what you mean. I stubbed my doggone toe this morning. I got up and I listened to Led Zeppelin. I was trying to jump like Jim Black Dog and hit my toe off the couch. Jimmy Payton not.
Then you swore up a storm.
Yeah, here we go. Good one, Bob.
I think I got some frosting on her. Yep, I just got theirs.
How you doing, buddy?
Good, there you go. And we're on record if you guys need a. I'll wait till you pass those out and then we'll get the meeting on order. Appreciate everybody coming in. Have you heard from Lowell? I haven't. I have not. A whole bunch of paperwork that we'll be discussing or homework to do. Okay, what time is it? 3 o'clock?
I got 2 after 3.
Okay, at 3 or 2, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And if we could please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You did the roll call, Courtney. Rebecca? Here. Danny?
Here.
Tom?
Here.
Becky? Here. And David?
I'm here.
And Lowell is absent. Do we need a motion to excuse Lowell?
You got that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call. Rebecca? Yes. Tammy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Becky? Yes. And David?
Yes.
Okay, it says executive session and rates for the village of Mount Sterling.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was my fault.
Yeah, I'm going to, those are applicable to this meeting, but on the agenda, background and clarification. I know there's been some confusion, especially maybe with what I said during the last, when we did the first reading on the rates, and I wanted to go over that real quick so that just everyone knows the whole, I like everybody to be informed. I've been looking through old OWDA loan paperwork for all the outstanding loans that have gotten us into the position that we're in right now. And there's a lot, I was curious, how could we be approved for such loans and things like that? You look at the projections that were given to the OWDA that showed that we can pay back the loans on current revenue, and they're inflated. There's a lot of, to me, questions, but that's the past, but that's what led to where we are. But in the OWD, this was the Friday before the last council meeting after the work session. Going through the OWDA loan paperwork, in one of the, it looks like all the legal stuff, it had mentioned you could use capital improvement money to pay towards your loans. I didn't know that. Everything that we have talked about with the rate study, etc., was all based on water revenue. You think about what capital improvements are, and that's money, a percentage of RETA, that has gotten moved into something called the Capital Improvement Fund. If you look at your cash summary by fund that Courtney gives us for every council meeting, you know, we have the general fund, that's our critical fund, that's the one that put us into the fiscal emergency. A little bit down further, you'll see capital improvements. Right now it has about $231,000 in it. And then, of course, further down, you'll see the water operating and the wastewater operating. So when I thought, wow, capital improvement, that's where I thought, is there any possibility that we could use then, that's RETA, that's taxes the consumers already pay, the residents are, or whoever works in the village. Right now, it's about $700,000 that we get from that for the general fund. Could we use a percentage of that to help offset if we could lower the water bills to the consumers even by $8 a month or $10 a month? So I didn't know the possibility, so that day I contacted Courtney, our fiscal officer, because I said, can we really use this money towards the loans? Because I'm very concerned about the residents and the burden it's going to place on them.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
In the middle of that, at the last work session, wasn't that already raised as a possibility that could we increase the RETA to go towards this? And then someone had contacted, I thought the auditor said no, unless there was a 5-year, a different type of a 5-year.
Well,
yes.
There was that, but then when it was like, okay, then I heard back from the auditors is what Courtney did to hear about the general fund, and it's, I guess you could use general fund money toward it. So to me, until we fully explored to see that that was a possibility, so it was brought to the mayor's attention that day, who indicated that we needed to go do some number crunching and see what might be possible. And I'm not saying that it's going to take away, but if it could take away partial, $5, $8, whatever it might be, I thought the residents, especially those on fixed income, that would be, a possibility, and that's why I said what I said. But I did not think that the legislation was going to be on Monday night's agenda. I thought we would have time for a work session just to look into that. I did not know until Monday that it was going to be on the agenda, which was not time for me to call any type of a work session or committee meeting to discuss. So that's kind of what led us up to a point. Until the next step is that there was a meeting earlier, the mayor, myself, Courtney, and then 2 members of the state auditor, Jim Pudoff and April Davis, are here. And they come in, Jim Pudoff once a month or so really looks at the numbers. And so, among other things, this came up as a topic of discussion. And even though you can use general fund money, that the problem is that for any other critical things that may come up, it's going to probably have to come out of the general fund. And Courtney, please correct me if I'm mistaken in what I say. Our water fund, we can make December's payment. That's not an issue. But we're not going to have reserves, extra build up. If we have any major repair that needs to be done, that too can come out of the water fund or the general fund. That fund itself may be strained as it is. As I said, I'll do whatever I can to look at options for the residents, and that was my main concern.
And if I may stop, okay, so I did do some number crunching as far as how much it's going to be. I again worked with April and Jim on this. If we're looking at it and we have 3 more months to operate, we're looking at probably a balance after everything's been paid about $15,000.
And that's after we pay the loans in
Yes.
December in the water fund and wastewater?
Yes, so what I've been projected to do is to go ahead and request or create a revenues versus expenditures for the next 3 months, hoping that nothing breaks. Now again, there is no reserve, there's no encumbered money, there's no carryover, there's no additional funds because those rates, we won't see those rates deposited into our account until January. In hopes that everybody pays them on time, there's no delinquencies, we don't know what that delinquency rate's going to be. So coming out of it, it's only going to be about $15,000. Is that what you'll have in that? You'll have to pay chemical, you'll have to pay personnel,
That's right.
you'll have expenditures, your utilities and things like that. So if we do the math and we look at the money that is being revenued versus what monthly bills, like I know we see it as a whole. We see it every year like it's $400 and some $1,000. But if we break that down, it's technically about $43,000 a month to pay on just the loans, and that's not $43,000 a month.
Just for the loans?
Just in the loans.
Is that a combination of both?
Yes.
Water and wastewater?
I'm just talking about the water.
Water, okay. A month for the loans, okay.
Yeah. So you'll be in, and that's hopes that we can still operate, and that's what, Frank had even explained in the rate review study, is that can you operate the way that we have? And I can't say for sure that I can be confident about that.
Well, and that's the unknown. We have winter coming up. What could break down?
Water mains, I mean,
Exactly,
that's what happens.
water mains will break.
And winter's just on the corner now.
You know, what supplies will we need in order to keep the streets clean? Do we need, I mean, there's so many different questions that right now, and we being responsible, and this is what, it just brought it full circle talking to the auditors today, is that even though, yes, technically you can use general fund, meaning RETA income towards loan payments, to do so would take away any possibility of being able to pay for something that might break down. And that's the part I didn't see. They're going to be making, it sounded like, I'm sure it will be announced, like the capital improvement money we have right now, it really should not be in capital improvements because there was no 5-year plan. And what the 5-year plan consists of, and that will be another work session, is all of us bring to the table what we feel are critical things that need to be done in the village. We've talked about the fire hydrant issue, the one that doesn't have any flow. We've talked about, what were some of the other ones, the Crawford drainage ditch. We've talked about the need for water meters. That will make for more accurate water readings, which will help revenue. You know, but all of these will take money. But what the 5-year plan consists of, but we need to hear about streets. We need everyone's ideas put on the table. Council, Billy's, or the mayor's, Courtney's, even Tyler Dennis, you know, bring all the ideas to the table, prioritize them, and then really look at what we feel might be accomplished. Then you have to have quotes, and you have to, I mean, it's very extensive what you have to do.
And go to the auditors.
The auditors have to approve it then.
And then you have to approve a fund line. They have to approve that fund to be used. Now, once you do this capital as 5-year plan, and I apologize.
No, I want everybody to, I mean, to me, it's all of us understanding.
Once you do your 5-year plan, again, you're going to be going to, in hopes that they're going to approve that and make sure that they're not going to just say, oh, well, you got quotes, it's going to be, you know, $100,000 to do that. They'll check the numbers, and then they'll come back and approve that too. So it's not like we can just throw a dart at an amount, and that's what it's going to be.
We have to have it backed up, you know, I think estimates and things like that. Just like what we did when we got the estimates for the pothole repair, for example. We did use capital improvement funds for it because I think the money was there, but it really didn't, you know, to utilize future, like right now, next year we'll have 3% of RETA going into capital improvements. But next year we have to have a 5-year plan in place.
Rebecca, I thought we discussed this yesterday about the grant money for the meters, and they said South Charleston got that. And Courtney, didn't you say there was another grant we can get another way?
Well, we didn't get the one where it's just a 10% contribution, but they turned around and applied for another one where it will cost us 25%. So it looks like it would be maybe 106,000 or something like that. But we don't know if we're going to get that or not. But that was what they did for us, since we did not get the original one where it was just 10%.
When did that happen?
You guys approved it. Yeah, there was an approved for council to apply for a grant that the county.
The environmental engineering, where it's going to be that is the grant I just found out yesterday that we did not get.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
And then, but what environmental engineering did, as soon as they found out, then he was aware of another grant that we could use for the water meters, that we'd have to pay 25%, so we'd have to pay more. But he turned right around to apply for that, and I don't know like when they'll make a decision on that one or anything. But he's still working at it. So unfortunately, even if we were to get this new grant that we applied for, it'd be say 106,000 approximately.
Our share?
Our share.
Oh wow.
At 25%. The water meters that I think that we're looking at is going to be over $400,000 from 200 of them.
They're pricey.
Well, and there's 3 other projects that are in that too.
Yeah.
That's,
I was
you know,
going to say,
systems on the water line.
$200,000. That's a lot.
Yeah.
400.
Well, I think the meters there were $200 each or so. Is that right?
Yeah.
The radio.
But 100 is only.
It's with the other 3 projects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Courtney, probably the hydrant project be the most expensive, isn't it, for getting a lot of water lines and stuff?
Well, those quotes, yeah, I mean.
The quotes and everything, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So these are capital. What we're talking about right now are potential capital improvement projects. And the ones that we talked about, this only affects water and wastewater. That's all we discussed yesterday because of looking at the rate study that was done, is they involve water and wastewater. But obviously we have to take into account, and this is, this is not the scope of this meeting. I'm saying that we will in the near future be discussing potential capital improvements. Streets have to be taken into account. Is there vehicles that need, I'm not even sure the status of vehicles, for example. Is there a air conditioning unit? We have to look at the whole big picture of the village, and then everyone's input is requested. Every single council member that feels that they have an idea as to what might help the village, the mayor, Courtney, Dennis, and everybody, and it's going to be pooling them together and prioritizing, etc. It's what Jim and April said, that it's quite a process to come up with a 5-year plan, and then to come up and be responsible and get the quotes and the dollar amounts and everything, then get approval by the state. It's kind of what that process is. So what I'm trying to say is, back to what we're talking about for this work session, is even though you can use general fund money towards your loan payments, that being responsible, it would take a lot of opportunity away from doing not only other improvements, but if there's any major repairs coming up, water main break, $15,000 in a water fund at the end of the year. I don't know how much it is for a water main break. Do you?
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on what line it is. You know, how bad is it? Can we clamp it, or do we have to get a new pipe? How far is it going to go? You know, do we have to dig up the whole entire road? Is it something that our guys can even do with only having 2 people? So that's the other point.
There's the questions, yeah. And so, I'd like to say, and that's was my feeling yesterday. I would love to save any burden off the residents. That has been my focus. But what April and Jim explained today is to do something like that, and I just want everybody to know, the whole picture would be to take away the possibility of being able to even do repairs while we are in the position that we're in right now. Having only $15,000 left over in water at the end of the year, that would be for any repairs that may come up. And unfortunately, there's still the unknowns of the water plant. There's still, we've had repairs come up that we're still figuring things out. One thing I was encouraged, and for those of you that weren't at yesterday's Finance Committee meeting, Courtney told us yesterday that our $10,000 electric bill this month was $4,000 at the water plant because of basically unplugging the HVAC system there. $6,000 reduction.
That's a lot of help.
Now, Courtney, if I may ask on that figure there, you think that'll repeat this month?
I would say yes. I would say so, because we don't plan on plugging it.
It is hard to believe.
Yeah, well, there's some other
It's gonna have to
studies.
be plugged back in when it gets cold.
Yeah,
right?
so that's what I'm saying is that, to project, and at the beginning of this meeting, like I said, I don't know what those what-ifs are. I really don't. I don't know, when people ask me, do you think you can operate the same way that we have saving money, because we have. Frank's like, you couldn't believe it. He's like, oh my gosh, look how much money you reduced. Mm-hmm. But as you know, when you get into colder weather, that's where your gas goes up. That's where your heat goes up. That's where your water mains start to break and they start to freeze. That's where water meters start to freeze. And again, and part of her meeting here, we need to review what those potential, ordinances for these ordinances are. Is that, do we charge those to the customers or do we not?
Yeah,
and that's, I think I don't want to get off track, but that's the kind of things that are the unknowns.
Yeah, and that's what I want people to understand. I thought that there was a very clear-cut alternative that could be considered, and I said possibly considered by council, to reduce a little bit of the burden to the customers, to the residents for this water bill increase. Yet it was, and I fully understand it, to do that would be to take away any reserve money, meaning any repairs, emergencies, and things like that that might come up. We have, right now, there's really nothing that's going to be built up. And we don't know what this winter's going to be like. Then I was also asking about, that $1.30. I thought, well, if we come up with a capital improvement plan, and we're moving RETA money that allows for capital improvements to water and wastewater. They still strongly suggested we leave the $1.30 in there, and what was the reasoning? Just
that there is, well, an emergency, or if you have other projects that you have to get done. So say, for instance, you know, we don't want to spend all of our money because, again, there is no encumbered, there is no carryover. So if you spend all of your money on, say, these 3 projects or whatever, and something else happens to break out there and it's something big, you have no other additional monies. Plus, you don't have a 5-year capital improvement plan
And
either. You can't use that money because you can't use it on anything because it has to be approved by your commission. It has to be approved by the state to even allow us to have that.
And that's the fiscal emergency part that
Yes.
we're under. So that makes it, I mean, obviously, and that's what I feel, we're 100% responsible to make sound financial decisions for the village. The only time that they would ever talk about unincorporating or something like that is if we default on the loan. You know, we are responsible to not let the other accounts go into the negative. Now, streets and state highways, but that was out of our control. That was adjustments that came from an audit. There will be other things coming down, which is going to be pulled right back out of our general fund. That's going to throw the general fund back into a negative. So with, I think, future adjustments that are coming down in the near future, the fact that our general fund, even though it's in the positive right now, will probably be in the negative, to say that, hey, we want to spend some of that negative, we want to spend some of that money toward a loan payment, probably won't fly just because of other adjustments where we are right now.
Yes.
And that was what was pointed out to me also. I was not aware of all the future adjustments that will be coming down because of
And we have another
the
audit
audits
too.
that will be released soon. Well,
Yeah.
October, November, they said.
Yeah, so that's another from 16 and 17. We don't know what those adjustments will be as well.
It's still the cleaning up of the past.
But the capital improvement plan, the capital improvement monies that was moved out originally was never approved by the state either.
There
So
should have been a 5-year plan back in 13 when they first passed that legislation, I think, but anytime, so we have to come up with, if we move 3% next year out of the general fund to a capital improvement, it has to be with the 5-year plan.
and it's restricted. So if you put in that plan and you say that, for instance, you want to pave all of South and North London Street down here, and you say that you're going to restrict, say, $500,000 to do so, there is no way that you're going to be able to use even a penny of that, because that money, once that plan is set, it is set in stone. You can't go back there and change it. You can't. After 10 years, what happens with that, so say for instance you don't repave South and North London Street, that money that has not been used will go back into where it came from, which is normally the general fund. So once you set this 5-year plan, something else comes up, and it's not in your 5-year capital improvement plan, you cannot use that money.
Yeah,
it's a restricted fund.
So it's
Yes.
more than a wish list. It is something that you're more or less committing to doing, and they're going to hold you accountable to it.
How does it
unless-
affect us for the budget, the new budget's coming?
Well, the new budget talks will be coming up, and there
That's what
will
I was
be some
wondering, yeah.
pretty more intense meetings for next year. But I just wanted to like kind of go over that, you know, right before the meeting without the chance to call any type of committee or work session. I was really curious. I really thought the general fund maybe could offset some of it. It was discouraged by the auditors today based on we won't have the general fund can be used for just about anything that is needed, but if we start using even part of it, then we're taking away the opportunity to pave streets, to do something that may come up that's really critical. Water main, I keep going back to water main breaks, but I'm very concerned about this winter. Plowing streets, do we need the salt to put down? I mean, I don't know, but.
And you have streets that are in distress. I mean, you have Pleasant Ridge out here that's like a gravel, so do we restrict that to our, our residents to say, hey, we can't fix those potholes, just like I announced in the last council meeting. Sorry about your luck, we can't fix that pothole.
Right.
And the Madison Street's cracking all to pieces.
Well, and
I mean, there's other projects, and that's what I'm saying. And like I said before, we're inheriting projects that should have been taken care of
the
during
fire
past people.
hydrant down
Yes.
at the Methodist Church has no flow. That's to me very critical because they have to be able to put out a fire if one comes up. But we know that's going to be, I don't even know,
Or
100,000.
emergencies. And we don't even know as far as emergencies.
Right.
We don't know what's going to happen, and there's no money to pay for it if it happens.
But I feel like it's our responsibility as council first to understand the funds a little bit. And the two key ones, I hope people understand. If you don't, please let me know. General fund, the income from that is mostly RETA. We get some from a franchise for that tower,
Yeah.
but the majority is RETA. About $700,000 this year is from RETA. capital improvement is, the stuff that isn't there right now was from legislation from council. But since there wasn't a 5-year plan, it will probably be put back into the general fund because of different adjustments still going on. So our responsibility, I feel, like I was saying, the only time that there'd be talk about dissolving or whatever, unincorporating or whatever, is if we default on the loans. I mean, so whether it goes in December, January, of course they feel the sooner the better because we have got to start building up some reserves. And I think that's the responsibility of council. Once again, we make the financial decisions, it's sound financial decisions, and make sure that the village has what it can to operate. So that's kind of the whole picture right there. And as I said, I know yesterday we had figured out a way to save $5.60 off the water bill. And that was by using 10% of RETA for the loan payment. That sounded good. Until we heard, today, the rest of the picture is that then you're taking away opportunities to do emergencies, repairs that may come up, or some critical projects. So, everything is very tight in the money right now, and that's where we are. Okay, this sounds good. We can really help the residents, and I feel that we all want to do, but at what cost? Does that mean we can't take care of needed things for the village that could come up?
You start talking about stuff like that, the potholes, and you're saying that the road's crumbling. I wouldn't feel comfortable to go out to the residents and say, we're going to put a street levy on here. So guess what? If you don't pass that, we're never going to repair the streets. Right. Or you start talking about RETA. You start talking about, now we got to go back to the ballot to ask people for RETA money. Because, you have to go to the ballot if you're going to go, because already we're at 1%. So if you're going to ask for another 0.5% or 1%,
it has to be voted on.
It has to be voted on. So then you're going to go back and put additional stress back on the residents at that point to say, okay, well, your streets are just not going to work because you voted it down. I mean, that's not fair either.
And if we use that general fund money, and like I said, that'll be the next topic, but if we use that right now to reduce the burden being placed on residents, which is the minimum requirements that environmental engineering suggested, if we somehow reduce that, then with my meeting with the auditors, which was at 11 o'clock today, it was very clearly outlined that that would take away any opportunity to do any type of, it could take away opportunity to do any type of improvements or repairs. And that is what we would be taken away. And what happens, that's where we can't let water or streets or something go into the neighborhood. We can use general fund money for wherever it's needed, is what they said. But if we use it for something like a help offset loan payments, for example, then we're taking away the ability to perhaps do some critical things for the village. And that's exactly kind of where we are right at this moment. It took a week's worth of different things and meetings to get to where I am, the understanding. So does anybody have questions about the general fund, like the funds, water, and understanding that this rate, everything with the rates is so that the water can support itself. It can support the debt, loans, build up reserves, handle emergencies and things like that. Wastewater is the same. It's going to pay its debt. It's going to build up reserves, a little bit of capital improvement. So, and obviously my whole key is everybody, first of all, to me, it's being respectful of one another. I just want people to understand here, this is what it would mean if we wanted to try to change it or whatever, like the rate. The takeaway would be that we could maybe not be able to do emergency repairs or something, depending on, and we don't know. It's still very premature. Other options are down the road. I think that there are different ways. I'd love to explore ways to increase revenue. We talked to someone a little bit ago who bought a tanker full of water. What was it, 8,000 gallons? I forget how many thousands of gallons. And talked about a lot of people. He said it was the best water he's ever bought anywhere.
He said it was better in Circleville in London.
And amazing. And
what did you do with it?
Filled the pool.
Oh, okay.
He said he didn't have to put the chemicals that you would have to buy, so
He said it stayed crystal clear all summer long. And other people who saw it said, where'd you get that water? Because they weren't happy with the water they had gotten. Now, he got charged $5.75 of that, 1,000. didn't know, over in our water, as we were just telling them, you know, one of our opportunities down the road, you know, is still look at creative, you know, we're still going to look at ways to reduce costs and or increase revenue. And I was just talking about someone who bought a tanker full of water like earlier this year for a pool, and loves our water.
Yeah.
Says the best water he's ever bought. It was $5.75 or something like that, 1,000. And if we can continue to look at ways to increase sale, you know, the revenue for it. And I think there's been ideas. There's been a lot of ideas as to how to do that. You know, my dream down the road is to be able to say, well, look how much we've increased revenue. Maybe we can now do an offsetting adjustment with rates. But who knows? I mean, you know.
So,
Yeah.
after the last council meeting,
Yeah.
just being, you know, transparent and honest, I was very disappointed in a few things, and I did ask for an executive session because I really kind of hate how things are getting aired in the public, and I feel like we've come to a consensus, and then we're in the public and things change, and there's conflicts of personalities, and there's things like that happening, and you know, I know we only have Robert here, but you know, I don't know when would be appropriate, but I do want to, you know, have a chance, because I know we're like, I'm not the most knowledgeable on all the rules of council. That's why, you know, the sunshine laws and all that. I don't know if we're allowed to stand outside and all talk about what just happened in that meeting. So, you know, I would like to have an opportunity to air things in private, you know, that are a little concerning for me. You know, because I know we've had our mayor blow up on us, and we all kind of let him have it. And then I know some of us have gave dished a little bit back to him, you know, in public. And I just really want us to, in public, you know, have like a uniformed, like a front where we stand together.
You want to.
You know,
I totally
you know,
agree with you.
I don't want any more, you know, shoe beating up there.
Yeah,
and, you know,
And honestly, I mean, like,
Yelling backstage.
and that any type of yelling or verbally questioning or going after someone is really not allowed at that point. You can do a point of, there are options. I do want to stay on topic too, and just.
Well, that's why I asked for an executive session, and I didn't know if it would be before
in this meeting.
Or I didn't know this meeting was going to happen. I just asked the next time, so I guess maybe it would be
The one thing to make sure would be
the mayor, I think you would have to speak with the mayor, and then he would have to make an executive session during the next meeting.
as long as there is a reason
Yes.
for it that is exactly via the sunshine laws. There are very specific, there's only certain reasons you can have one.
Yeah.
And it has to fall within one of those reasons. If not, then it is not allowed. So if it is not within the course of that, that's what you have to be careful with, is making sure that it is under what is allowed for the reasons of an executive session. And Billy should verify that with our village solicitor.
Especially what Becky wants, and I kind of agree with her. I think we need to have something like that behind closed doors and get it all out. And because if we can go on the street, I bet you run into the same thing I have. I got on the street. There's a lot of angry people out there.
I think so too. I know exactly what you're saying, Dave.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Yes, I've been there too. Oh, you know, yeah.
So,
I just kind of felt like, you know, this last meeting, we were kind of, I don't know. I just felt like we were put in a really awkward position, because I felt like we'd been to 2 of these meetings, and we all 6 agreed on things, and then all of a sudden I was like, what just happened? You know, it's
well, that's why I explained, Becky, that I found out information the Friday before the council meeting, which I brought to Courtney's attention, and we sat down and talked to the mayor about here's a possibility that could alter this, and I wanted the opportunity to call a work session, first to crunch numbers, bring it to the council, and I was under the impression that that was going to happen. It wasn't until Monday I found out the legislation was on the agenda, which gave me absolutely no opportunity via not breaking any rules to go around and talk to each of you about it. I was upset because I wasn't allowed to go and talk to you when I wanted to do a work session, but you have to give a 24-hour notice. So I was between a rock and a hard place. I was not going to compromise myself though and not, bring it up, but I know that it was like, well, what just happened? So, obviously I see that too, and it was Friday morning, I got forwarded an email from April Davis saying that you could use general fund money Friday before that council meeting, the Friday after the work session. That's how the timing was. And it was unfortunate, and I had no clue, but I wanted to bring it to people's attention, but I wasn't given the opportunity to do so, but in a council meeting.
And Rebecca, I still think too, it would be a good thing to have a town meeting for the public.
No, I think that is still.
I think we need to have
Right?
a.
Yes.
It's going to be it's Wednesday, October 10th at 7 o'clock. I totally agree. I want to hear what the residents say. I do.
I have a question from a resident that asked me, and maybe you guys know the answer to this. Well, first off, they said, what's the big deal if we get unincorporated? And I said, well, you're still going to have to pay it. Because if they come in here and shut us down for defaulting on our loans, the state's going to come in and implement the charge.
And they're going to put in whatever rates they want.
Right.
And they were putting and that was almost quoted from what was quoted from the auditors.
So that was one thing. And then I had another person in town come to me and say, well, are we allowed to file bankruptcy? Because, to them, they just don't want to pay us $50.
Believe me, I approached that.
So I would like to know what to say to them, because I said I would inquire.
About, when was it, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I looked into the feasibility of something called Chapter 9 bankruptcy. And it was only by watching a TV show where it talked about Detroit, that's what got them out of the mess they were in.
Okay.
They had the corruption and they had loans they couldn't pay.
This person actually brought up, I think, Detroit or New York.
Right.
And said that they filed bankruptcy.
There's something called Chapter 9 bankruptcy. It's federal bankruptcy specifically for municipalities, meaning villages, townships, and that was something I talked about a while ago. And did some research, and I thought, wow, we can't pay our loans on those with what the revenue we have now. Well, I wonder what that would take. So I brought it to your attention, I brought it to the mayor's attention, and the mayor brought it to our village solicitor's attention, who in that meeting told myself that absolutely you cannot do that. So, but the mayor also wanted me to discuss it with April Davis from the state auditor's office. So it's been a while. She and I had a conversation, and she too confirmed that it was not an option.
Okay.
And I was trying to, as I said, I've been working hard to look at any and every option for the village. And if there was something that I could bring forth that is a possibility, but that was not.
It's amazing that Rebecca, a major city like Detroit could file bankruptcy and a small one can't.
Well, if you look, there's maps out there, it's for federal, so it's, there's quite a few in California that have successfully filed Chapter 9. It's quite a process also, even if you read the ones that went through it and everything. But I was told by not only a village solicitor, but by a representative of the state auditors that was not an option for us.
Okay, and then lastly, Chris Cisco came to me and called me out and said that there's this new development with Mr. Provenay, that he could be our attorney, and I didn't really even know. He went on just telling me things. He said that you and Tammy had talked to him about. I really didn't know what he was talking about, but he told me.
Okay, we're getting off topic.
Well,
Let me answer one more question. No, we're sticking to an agenda, Becky, but we'll answer one more question. Apparently we have been looking into the old OWDA loans because of concerns about improprieties in their false projections and things like that. Chris brought to my attention, and because he does his due diligence in the job he has, there was questions about the land purchase because it was a land purchase where the water plant is right now. He went as far as to look at a warranty deed, which is the documents that get filed when land is sold. Village had agreed to buy it from something called the E5 Limited Partnership. Now this was way back, it's only stuff in the past that we've been looking at, which is fine to do. But he went as far as to get a copy of the one where the village bought it. And it showed, the concern was where the proceeds of the loan money went to, and it was into an IRA, not to a limited partnership. So he uses Mr. Prone as his solicitor, and arranged a meeting because he thought that there was something very questionable about that. So we went to a meeting with Mr. Prone to take a look at the old, what was questionable. Once again, they had to do with, this is a OWDA loan, where we bought the land and questionable, like, okay, whose IRA is this and things like that. Turned out it was fine. It was still within the family that the village agreed to buy it from. So that was the purpose of the meeting, and that was one that he had set up.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get off topic. I mean, again, all these questions that have been posed to me are about the water and wastewater increases, and I don't want to look foolish again, you know.
They mentioned the unincorporated part, you know, when they say, one thing you might want to bring up to them too is they'll lose their sheriff's protection. We'll have a county sheriff, but they'll be out in Timbuktu and only come when there's a call. We won't have the 24-hour that we pay for.
In the road service,
and the road service,
everything. And like
that's how I approach people.
And like Courtney said, that there is they had mentioned earlier is that what they're seeing as a rate increase right now would probably be triple that amount. Is that what you said?
Yep.
Can you imagine a $150 increase? And you would not have a council member to go talk to. You know, let me finish this, and I do want to answer questions, but also want to stick within a time limit. Recommendations. I think one thing that is really critical that with 2017-02, to look at hours.
Yeah, it's like the first or second or third, don't put me on it.
And one thing that a resident has, or a business owner here in town has brought up, is feeling that we really have two ordinances in effect. One was never rescinded from 2010. I think the one we follow is 2017-02, or the one that Courtney mentioned. But a couple of my concerns are, you know, of course, what the auditors are saying is that we need to follow whatever policy is in effect to a T. If it says you have 10 days after the due date to pay a bill, then expect your water to be shut off. My question was, what do other communities do? Is that fair? We have people on fixed income. Will that give them time to pay their bill, especially if there's an extra burden on them? What I would like for each of you to do is to take a look. Now, these are just some samples. These were found doing internet lookups. Look at some of the different, and some are villages, like I said, and some are cities. Some of them I see where some give you 45 days, some give you 10 days. I mean, look through it and look at hours. And right now you'd have to go online, but I'm sure if you need a printed copy, that can be arranged. But if you could look at these and really give some thought, compare that to ours, and that would be another work session, and think about what changes. I feel like we really need to have, and I think every council member's voice is very important. What do we feel is going to be fair to the residents? We have fixed income people that only get their check once a month. Is 10 days enough time for them to pay it?
Rebecca, I did some research on that. 1/3 of our village is on it.
1/3?
Yeah, 1/3, yes. I want to bring this up. 1/3 of our village.
Now, fixed income means retirement?
Social Security and maybe retirement. And that's 1/3.
Well, Steve's mom got her check. Now, she got it the first week of the month. Social Security was the only income she had,
Yeah,
$800 a
exactly.
month. You know, and unfortunately, but it really depends on your date of birth. So people, depending on if they're born later in the month, I think they get their check later in the month.
Yeah, they get theirs like on the 3rd Wednesday of the month, and then the ones that have been on for a long time get on the 1st week of the month.
Okay, and then, I mean, I know there's different rules,
I've had
but
residents come to me that's on PIT for their electric and gas, being like, you raise this up this high, what am I saving on my PIT with my electric bill, because it's, you know, so it's, that's some of the fixed.
But I mean, when you have the opportunity to talk to residents, kind of hear what they're saying. If they're saying, that's going to be really hard to pay it by a certain date. I mean, this is up to us, I really feel, just to make sure is our ordinance. And the other thing about, which I believe I've heard maybe came from Misty, is right now we do a $150 deposit to have water turned on. What is not used after, like, they move or whatever, make sure that their bill is paid up to date, but then the balance is sent back to them. So, but we were talking, Misty, I think, suggested maybe change that to a non-refundable deposit. If so, so what's a fair amount? You know, that was another thing that
I
was
mean, they're
suggested.
strict. I mean, like, this is London right here. You know, they said when balance is due, 1 day past due, a shut off will be sent out.
Right, but how long do they give?
That's right. So do they give you like a 7-day lag, and then on the 7th day they shut it off, and that happens to be on a weekend, you have to shut it off? You know, you gotta make sure that, okay, if it's 7 days and say, you know, it was due on the 15th, does that 15th fall on a Sunday, which means you guys shut it off a Monday or a Friday? You know, those are some of the questions as well that will have to be.
And that's why I really, sometimes I'd like to see what, I don't know what other
Some try a
places do.
20-day policy.
And all of these, even if it says on the 10th day, let's say it said on the 10th day, it will be shut off. I mean, you gotta put the human factor in there too. There's, you know, like you said,
Yeah.
Misty might not call you that 10th day, give you till Monday. You know what I
Yes.
mean? That's always gonna happen in these
Or do
communities.
you,
Right.
yeah, and or do you say, because like right now, the ordinance basically says that if they shut the water off, that we have to charge 50, it's a fee that we charge to turn back on. That's not happening. Do you,
See, that should happen.
see, that's what I'm saying, so like, you gotta make sure that, you know, okay, so accepting payments, do you accept payments of a percentage of your bill? So say your bill is like $100, and say, hey, I can't pay it on the 15th, and I won't be able to pay it 7 days from now, or say the 7 days comes up, and I'll just use a number. Say 7 days comes up, and it says, well, I still don't have money to pay that. Do you demand a percentage from them at that time?
But I also understand
Yes.
that now if you talk to the auditors, I think the feeling is the day it's supposed to be shut off, you shut it off.
That's right, there's no,
I see
So-
where South Charleston, it pays on a quarterly basis, like so.
they read their meters quarterly,
Yeah,
yes.
would that be the savings for us if we went quarterly?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think-
You need the money come yesterday.
Okay.
Those rates have to be in here in June.
I just want to ask that
Steel
question, I want to bring it.
Yeah.
I want to bring that up, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, they can do that because believe me, their boat is definitely sailed to one way and there's no
Well,
way
just
around it.
just like the first part on South Charleston's. You know, they got 30 days to pay, but if they don't, they got a $10 fee.
And they collect.
That will be added, then they get a notice saying they're
But
gonna shut
the
off.
thing about them is that they only have 2 people in their whole entire village that are ever delinquent. 2 people. And she can name their names off.
My
But like I
thing-
said,
How did they get to that point though?
but that's what I'm saying, they have strict rules and strict policies. Like for instance, I mean, he told me an example, and this, now we are not at this point at all whatsoever. But to understand the policies that other villages have as restrictions, and again, they're not in a physical emergency, they didn't have $1 million being stolen from them. So we're definitely in a different kind of show here. This guy had put a salamander in there to make sure a heater, a salamander in his meter pit. So that he knew that if that ever froze, he wasn't going to let that happen. He goes, if it froze, and in here I think it's like they have to pay for it or they don't get their water shut back or turned back
Oh
on.
shoot, so you have a salamander?
And it burned it.
Oh my God.
So he took it in there, he goes, I was trying to be preventative maintenance, here it is.
And all burned.
It's all burned up, and she goes, well, sorry about your luck, I'm gonna go ahead and shut your water off. So until you give me $350 for your meter, we'll shut your water back on. So we're shutting it off for now, and then when you get money, I will have one delivered to your
So
door
they
that
just,
day.
boom, just like that.
So I mean, I'm just saying, like, that comes to a point where people follow directions, and the whole town knows about it. Like, they know that, okay, my water's gonna get shut off, they're not messing around with it. But again, they don't have the story like we have, you know, where we can't have, you know, we need to be fair. You know, we need to make sure that we're strict on
I mean,
following the process.
Maybe we wouldn't have as many delinquents if we gave them 30 days, because how people's checks fall, or, you don't know. You know, like we give them how long?
10.
10.
Yeah, it's like
But
7
people
or
are
10.
cramming, and who knows if they're Social Security or
And that's what
welfare
I
check or
want-
something. They have, well, maybe they have enough paydays in there to pay it.
But
You
be
don't know.
reasonable too, as far as now that the rates are going up, understand there's probably gonna be a lot more delinquencies happening. So understand that what's projected as far as rates of whatever's decided and however this is passed, that you are gonna probably have a higher delinquency rate.
Courtney, I got a question for you. Do we have a payment plan for, let's say, like
No.
a senior? No, I think we
There is
should,
no
I think
payment
we
plans
need to
whatsoever.
slot that, because there's some people.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that they struggle. There's an older gentleman down the street from me, and it struggles for everything for him and his wife. I
So-
think we need to have something like that.
Are you asking us to like read these and like rewrite a whole new policy?
No, I'm saying this is just samples to look at. Take a look at our policy, see
So our
if you
policies
feel
are
any
one.
terms need
Yeah,
to be
it's-
changed
I can
on
get you a
it.
copy. I'll send you guys out a copy.
Yeah, why don't you email, if you could
Yeah.
email it to us, but if at 2017, no, I'm saying take a look at ours, see if you think it's fair, the way it is, or if there's anything that, in a work session, I prefer all council members to be involved so we can discuss it. If there's anything that might be recommended to be changed, so I feel that we have a comprehensive, that we've all reviewed, that we feel comfortable, especially given what could be a water rate and sewer rate increase for the village. And these are
What's
just
our
samples.
deposit?
150.
Non-refundable.
But it looks like it's
Well,
just,
it's, no, the 150
Yes.
is
It is
refundable.
refundable, I mean.
but like these two, that I looked at here, they show that they have a $50 reconnection fee. So make that might want to, the next time somebody wants to go delinquent, because, we all know, like sometimes there are needs versus wants, okay? And you could be in a fixed income, you say, how we get that new cell phone kind of thing. I think what these policies are doing, when I spoke to South Charleston, is that they're saying that, do you want to pay the $50 to reconnect it? Because we're going to disconnect it, we're going to shut your water off, but understand that you're going to pay me $50 before I turn it back on.
And we don't have a reconnection fee?
We do.
We do?
Yes, we do.
What is it supposed to be?
I want to say it was like 50 or 75.
Or
Why is it not?
It's a
In
$75.
effect, why is it not?
Is it Billy or is it Misty or?
I think it just never was, it was never enforced even before this new term. Because when I deposit the receipts and stuff, like when I've looked in past, there wasn't a line item that says a reconnection fee. So I mean, this is not just recently, this goes back further.
So we're
Which,
still cleaning up things, but I think
Yes.
that when we stand behind, come up or whatever, our water ordinance, it's something we need to make sure it gets followed.
Yes.
And that's the part of, because things like reconnection fees, things like that would be some more income
And it
trickled
wouldn't
into
be
the
bad.
village.
It wouldn't be bad, if Misty were to come in here, because since she's dealing with the public all the time, she's probably can tell you more of saying, okay, how much delinquencies do we have? How much did we have and how much have we collected? What are some of her opinions, because she deals with them all the time? Are people paying half and half? Are they paying it all? Are they being read, the meters being read? Maybe I think she could give some more insight.
My
because she's
concern,
dealing with them
I
all.
want to bring this up too, we got a lot of older people in town, I don't want them to make a choice between water, my heat, or when do I eat. We got to be very careful with this, because some people, it comes down, they may not even buy their medicine if they need it, and it's concerning.
That's why I wanted people to review this policy. I felt that it was just part of our responsibility to try to look out for the residents and see if there is something, and as I said, please read them, think about things, think about the challenges you know of at the next work session. I want our ideas, everyone, even if you think it's kind of out there, I really want everyone to be heard, and then all of council come up with recommendations that we think is fair for the village and fair for the residents.
Courtney, real quick, can you give me a list of services that the elderly could go to, or people need to go to should they need help on the utility?
Yes, it's called the Helping Hand.
Yes.
It's like community action,
Yes,
and they're out of London.
and sometime between now and whenever. If you
October
could
10th.
provide that to me with the information, that way when I sit down,
Yeah, by October 10th. would be
and
good.
hopefully that way we offer
That way
those.
when we're telling them about it.
And that's
we're
good
giving
for,
them
those helping hand, that's for anybody that's just at a certain income level or lower. And it pays, also based, I think, on dependents and stuff like that, but I know I don't know what the percentage of people here in town that take advantage of it, but it offers really good assistance towards the electric and the gas bills. Water bills is not like a possibility that they can get assistance on, but that it does help with your gas and electric.
I know veterans, they get in so much of a line and during having to fix time stuff, they can go to London and they can get a paperwork and help them.
We still charge for outside.
Helping Hands in Madison County. I'll get you guys, I'll send
Each
it all.
county, I
Do we
believe,
still
has
charge for
one
outside
there.
meters for residents who want an outside meter?
Yes.
If
Well,
you need help
okay, so like an
finding
additional, that's what
information,
I'm
I can
getting.
help you.
That's given, so I'm not sure.
Like
if that's
address and
right.
phone number, that type of
I
thing.
know I paid for mine
Yeah, I know that.
with Mr. Jones.
Well, I should be able to pull that up on.
Courtney, do we
Do a search.
collect, because I know it used to be when our budget was a little tighter, and like if you're like pay on the 16th instead of the 15th,
Mhm.
do we collect that 10%? Is that something we with us to have the reconnection fees charged and the 10% if it's, I mean, put a big sign up there, any payments after the 15th will incur the,
Well,
just to remind you, what does it take to make that happen?
Technically, well, here's the thing, all you need to say is, and, you know, this is, the ordinance is already there, it's already been approved by past administration. You just gotta say that it should be enforced, and this is the way it should be because it's on 2017, and don't quote me, I think it's the 3 or 4, it's the second one that was approved. And say, you have to enforce it, this is what it is. But again, understand the fuel to fire too, is that, you know, you have residents who too that, you know, are delinquent. And we shut their water off. It's 7 days, you're gonna have a reconnect fee, all of that has to be enforced as of today. Yes, it does.
7 days? Okay.
7 or 10 days, it's something
So
like
in
that.
other words, it might be best to start that if we rewrite the ordinance.
Yep, you just
And
demand at this
demand it
point.
be done this time.
Yes.
Are we going to rewrite the ordinance?
Well, we got
Or are we
two
just gonna
ordinances,
get
we got to at least
enforced?
narrow it down to one.
Well, like what
We got
Rebecca's
two
saying
different
is to make sure
ordinances.
it's fair. With these increases coming in, is it fair to allow them
So
to
we
pay
should-
part of it? Is it
But
fair?
what I'm saying also is, and I think the easiest way to do it, let's start with the 2017. Look at the different terms in there. We may need to change this paragraph or this term here. You know, I don't think we need to rewrite it from scratch, but let's look at the key items and see if there's something that needs to be modified. Bring that into the next work session, your ideas, because everybody needs to be heard so that we feel that we're fair. Then I would say come up with, based on those changes, a new ordinance, and that we should rescind any previous ordinances that are in effect. But at that point, we can also discuss the key points that from this point forward, the shut-off will be, the late fee will be assessed, I mean, whatever it may be, and it's kind of, but, you know, we need to be comfortable with what those terms are, and that's why I'm asking everybody to review it, because I'm sure we will hear from people, why I never had to pay that 10%, why am I paying that fee, or whatever it might be, and that's why I think we need to be aware as well as proactive on what those terms are.
Is there any chance that we can get this done again before the 10th when we have all of them here and we're announcing the increases? At that point would be a good time to say, hey, this is our policy and this is going to be enforced or not.
If what it would take is meeting again with a recommendation later this week,
Okay.
and probably no later than, I would think, Thursday at the very latest, because we would have to give Mark the opportunity to create the legislation to be on for Monday night.
But you guys can make the recommendation.
I have doctor's appointment Thursday in Albany, so I can't be here.
Well, that's a long.
Well, it's on the second reading, so understand that when you guys are voting on it, come Monday's the 10th or the 8th, right?
That'll be the second reading.
Yeah, so that'll be the second reading. In the meantime, I mean, you guys can always voice and say there's an
And
ordinance.
that's what I might even say,
Yeah.
and you guys can speak up, I mean, feel free to, it's all about transparency. Is we met, and one of the things discussed is we're taking a close look at the current water ordinance, because we may want to make changes that we feel is best for the community or whatever, and at least let people know that's part of this meeting,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So just let them aware, it's not like you have to make a decision now, because you have 2 more
That
readings.
would be
after that.
possible to have a special meeting Monday morning session.
Well, it depends on how what the people's availability is. I know,
See, then again, though, that wouldn't allow.
it wouldn't give us time to have,
for the-
no,
So that's what I'm
but,
saying, you're only in second reading, you're not putting this rate in effect until the third reading that you guys adopted. So you have the next month to make this happen, to have meetings set.
I just would really like, I mean,
I agree with Becky, I get what you're saying, I'd like to be able to tell them on the 10th.
yeah, instead of
Hey,
them
we
like
decided
thinking,
to
oh,
give you
this
blah, blah
happened and
days
now they're
instead
gonna
of
do
15.
this too, and, you know, I'd just like to put it all out there.
I don't think you're gonna have time to do that before Monday.
no, because what we'd have to do is turn around and schedule a meeting, but understand that we need to give Mark time to prepare the legislation.
Right. But it could be said, like you just said, is that according to, 2017.202, that this is our policy, and we do want you all to know we are going to enforce this policy, but we are looking at it to maybe
To be fair.
To be fair.
Yeah,
working on it very
But
hard.
if you are past the 15th, the
You need a
10%
motion
will
to-
be.
for another 5 minutes.
It'd be hers.
Yeah, can I put the motion for just one more 5
I'll make
minutes?
a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so it wouldn't be
Roll call.
inappropriate at that meeting.
Yes.
All right, yes.
Tammy?
Yeah.
Tom?
Yes.
Becky? Yes. David?
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah,
how about the second reading of Fells Monday night?
on the rates.
What scenario we got there?
Well, I just wanted everyone to know the facts and everything, and it does sometimes keep changing. It was eye-opening. I learned so much wherever I was, even the Friday before the reading was like, oh my gosh, there is another possibility that to me looked doable, which was maybe using some RETA money. Of course, after the meeting today, you know, I saw then a different picture with the auditors, you know, and I'm still like sorting through all this different stuff. My feeling, and this is just my feeling, I respect every single one of you, and I respect however you vote, and it's not me or anyone to ever question or anything, because I think we're all doing what we feel is best for the community. You know, take a look at, really at the figures. Remember, it's our responsibility to make sure that key services to the village are covered, and we don't allow other accounts to go into the negative. If it does not, you know, and these are ifs, if it does not pass, we'll probably be right back to the drawing board of working something up, because, you know, I love this village and I want to see it do better. And I don't want to see it incorporated, not that it would be this year, but if we start running into issues early next year and don't have the reserves or the money for it, the village could be in trouble. And I feel a responsibility, you know, because we are the financial authority of the village, or we make the financial decisions. I don't want to see anything happen to it because we didn't plan for emergencies. That's my concern. And realizing that we are putting all of our eggs into the basket called the general fund right now is, you know, a concern that if I even take some of that out to help offset a low, which I would love to do. Believe me, I would love to reduce anything for the residents, but is that going to compromise another fund? And that's what the auditors made very clear today is you're looking to do everything out of a fund that possibly is going to be back in the negative again. And can you justify putting up more in the negative? Can you just get it cleared by the auditors and by the financial commission that meets in October 25th, I think it is? Those are all questions. What if we say, I want to change the general fund, and they say no?
In support of Rebecca, in support of Rebecca, you have to have sustaining, and they keep saying this, sustaining, the water fund and the sewer fund should be self-sustaining.
Where it's
Now,
not
what does that mean?
Right.
That means that
It
any
pays its
money
bills.
that it pays its bills.
Debt,
Yes.
emergencies, any type of capital, any type of improvements. Water tower, the fire hydrant that has no flow. And these are responsibilities that we want to make sure to the village, that we have to provide these services. And I think we all are, exactly, we all understand what the village has been through. And it's going, you know, for each of us, I think it's going to be a very tough decision. And I just want to make sure every single person has the facts.
I'd like to say something.
Certainly.
You know, with that said, you know, what if it comes Monday and it fails? I would hope, I mean, I respect all of you too in your own votes, but I would hope that there is no way possible that this would fail. And I'm just going to say that because if I'm voting with my heart, I'm turning this down 100%, because I love this town. I understand there's people out there struggling, but if I'm voting with my head, I mean, we're put in this position and no one's taken it lightly. And everyone has looked at every possible,
I'm right here.
And you know, and that's something else I said in the last council meeting. If for some reason we would get this windfall, of course, it would be our obligation to go back to them and say, hey, we just got a windfall. We're going to reduce your rate
$10. We got a way to sell more water to
exactly,
the point
but for right now, I am just asking that, you know, you guys really, really consider the fact that, I mean, I don't want to do it either, but use your head, not your heart.
But here's the funds, and the numbers are not mine.
Right.
The numbers, I mean, I was appointed to do this position, I was appointed to show you the numbers. I'm showing you the numbers, and I'm telling you the numbers. That you do not have enough money. If you were to ask me today, you do not have enough money to pay it if we were to send it out today. You don't.
You want another 5 minutes?
Well, we just motioned to extend the meeting, there was no time given. So I'm just telling you at this point, like perfectly what you said, if you were voting with your heart, you would say no. If you're voting with your head and you're doing what's right for the village, then you have to vote with what you have as factual.
Well, and I can tell you that is something I have been so consumed in lately, is looking at Indian Chapter 9 was one of them. I looked at all kinds of alternatives. I've looked into, you should see how I have these other paperwork marked up. Do we have any recourse on going back on certain things? I'm still not sure about that, but you cannot base any decisions, financial decisions, on maybes. But the one thing that I was not convinced of was, once again, the Friday before the last council meeting, sometimes I have to sit down and I have to study the numbers. And I thought we would have time to crunch numbers, and it found out we did not. And until I was absolutely shown and had the opportunity to speak to the auditors as I did today, where it really okay, and it's kind of here's the whole picture with street fund. We don't have money in streets to pay for anything. How all the different things. Plus, if we want to do any type of improvements, even critical ones for the village, okay, we're all looking at the same little amount of money right here that we're going to be pulling things from. So, it was that's why I just want to make sure everyone knows the facts. And like Becky said, and also if you need clarification, understanding numbers, or the what ifs, because the one thing I would love is for, if anybody were to walk up to a council member and ask, well, why can't you use RETA money? I think someone has already asked that outside, like here. Well, because that money is the only thing that we have for capital improvements, for one thing. And these will be critical things, and for emergency repairs. Until we start getting something built up, reserves, let's call it, until we get money that is built up, it's going to be, we're cutting things pretty close as it is. And who knows of what repairs will have come up. And that's the biggest.
Or emergencies.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Emergency, we don't know. And you have to try to account for it. And right now, I think we're all praying that there's nothing major that comes up, because what we have on the sheet is what we have to work with. And right now, so that's what you said, Becky, is absolutely right. I had to be clear in my mind. I wanted to explore any and every. I'm still exploring, but as far as what is here and now, this is right here what is in front of us. And there's that responsibility as council members to make sure that the village continues on. I think none of us want to see anything happen to that, because it is within our power to keep the village on a sound financial course.
Well, it's a hard pill to swallow. I mean,
It is also not my position to ever influence or say anything to any of you, and shame on me if I do, that influences your vote. Each of you need to, like Becky said, I know how we feel in our hearts. Look at the numbers, but decide for yourself, and stick, for everybody, have the courage to stick to your guns and do what you feel is right. But I just want to make sure that you have presented with the actual facts and the truth. And, so you're not caught off guard if somebody asks you on the street, have you looked at Chapter 9? Have you, some things I just don't know if are appropriate to say, because I don't want a rumor, oh, look, they're looking into this, which I was told was not a possibility. But I'm still looking. I won't stop fighting for the residents, but this is where we are at this time.
Yeah, what is the deadline? Is that January 1st?
Well, Frank suggested having this in place by January 1st. And if I understand this right, our legislation says December 1st, meaning the rates would then go into effect December 1st. December 1st
yes.
is the way the legislation is written.
Yeah.
Frank suggested January 1st to make sure that both our solicitor and our water clerk had time to make sure that all the necessary programming changes and legislation was in place. And of course, I think the way the auditors today that we spoke with feel is the sooner you can start building up a little bit of money, the better. Now, we are okay to make December's payments. We're not defaulting in December, but with Courtney's figures, at least $15,000 left over in water. And that's not a whole lot if you think about all the stuff that could come up.
Yeah.
And that's,
I wish we operate just
I
like
wish we had a crystal ball, but we don't. makes sense to everybody? And people feel like
And we do
they,
feel confident that if we start collecting this December 1st, like the legislation says, that we'll have enough by summer for that payment, right?
Yes.
that was the
Yes.
purpose of the
I
study,
thought so.
is that what Frank said was, if we do not have the money, he suggested January, meaning if you start doing this in January, then you'll have enough to make next summer's payment. We won't be in default, but we'll also be building up some reserves and some money for the water capital improvement and the wastewater capital improvement. And it will all start once we start charging the new rates.
But understand that this rate study was projected as a minimum, okay, which
What was
means
the minimum?
that when you are asking somebody to pay more money and they don't have it, guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna have a really big increase in delinquent payments. So it's very important that, I know we need to be fair, but we also need to be firm as well. Is that
That's why one of
if
the
you're asking for a rate
legislation
increase, then, you may have, say, 20 delinquencies right now, you may have 200 delinquencies.
That's why we have to review this
And that's not
water
what
ordinance.
And that's the problem, is that be mindful that this is what we think we can make, or what should be made. It's not, I don't want to say think we should make, but what needs to be made to operate. But understand that when you do an increase, that there's probably going to be some sort of delinquency, and we better make sure we have a delinquency program set that says,
Well, I still
okay,
believe a lot
we're
of
still going to
residents
get the
don't
money,
pay.
but we can't hold off because we're just holding off the.
It's going to, even if we could reduce the rates or whatever, it's still gonna be, we know it's not gonna be easy. We have the town hall meeting, there's gonna be angry people, whatever, but, we eventually will get through this and people will adjust. And it's going to be, I really feel each person, I have such respect for each and every one of you, and I feel that we can get through it if we're clear, we know the facts, and it's just going to be taken 1 month at a time. I like what you said, as long, I think just being informed and clear on everything, and if we can tell people, if you're asked, and the worst feeling is, well, I'm not sure what happened, I'm not sure why, and that is, and that's why I really like, I would much rather do work sessions than committee meetings, because this way everyone can be informed. When it comes to budgets and things like that, I want everyone to understand so that there isn't, well, I didn't know that was going on. We all should know, because this is such a critical time, especially if, I know we're each going to get approached by different people. And at least, my purpose of this meeting was for you to understand the numbers a little bit, and the way funds work, and if that, and to understand that I feel that we're responsible to look at the ordinance for the water processing, I call it, make sure that it is comprehensive and fair, and I think that any changes, that need to go into effect, we have the ability to make the recommendations and get those in soon also, so that those are very clear also.
Yeah, I feel they need to go right in with the raising the rates. That
So
ordinance,
please,
instead of holding off on it,
this is,
bringing it right in with it.
what's your guys' feelings for work session? I know that next week, of course, we have a council meeting. I do not want to let this ordinance go with the water, wastewater. I would, feel free, any of us that attended the meeting, I think, can even have input if you want to as part of the council meeting, but when would be a good time to meet to start talking about?
What time is our meeting with Frank and the public?
It's at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday the 10th. So is there, do you want, I know with your work schedule, I want to try to accommodate, make sure everyone that can attend without it cutting into people's.
Would be a good day.
Well, see, I know Monday we have the council meeting, so Wednesday we have the town hall meeting. Do we want to meet Tuesday? Do we want to meet?
And I'll be out of town Friday.
I think Tuesday might be needed if everybody can. At least we'd have some kind of idea, especially if we come up with a recommendation
Okay,
of what we could tell the residents.
Okay, Becky, what's a good time?
Tuesday was the day, well, I could do it, wait a minute.
Tuesday.
We have a meeting here Tuesday the 9th at Mount Sterling Economic.
What time is that?
At 2. That one group.
The one with Dave and Hunter?
I mean, we couldn't meet before we met with Frank, or before we did the town hall meeting. Would that be weird to get together that evening, or would that be?
we face,
Oh, yeah.
before we face the mob.
And, you know, because there's probably gonna be here people before 7
Oh,
filling in the
they're gonna be
seats, I mean.
Exactly, and we're gonna make sure that it is videotaped, because I think it's really important for people to see the presentation that Frank's put together, as well as hear the question and answers that come from all the people that are gonna be here. That's gonna be really needed, I feel.
I mean, I would suggest like 5 to 6,
Okay.
but I don't know if you guys have family obligations.
I don't. How
It's
about,
fine for me.
I'm already blocking that day off for this meeting.
does that
I'm
work
good.
for you?
What day, what time?
It'd be the 10th, which is Wednesday at 5.
I'm good.
How about you,
I'm
Dave?
good, yeah, I'll be okay with that.
Why don't we do that, a work session then? And the sole purpose of that one will be to go over, and also give some thought to a refundable versus non-refundable deposit for the water.
But understand that it's gonna be a recommendation, so you can't go to council, and understand that too, is that when you guys are talking about that between 5 and 6, there's no resolution on the table.
Right.
Okay,
Just
so
recommendations,
It's
which
saying,
is
hey,
not.
we talked about this today, this is what we think, we're possibly gonna have a resolution, because, you know,
Right.
voting in.
But if
you
we
know,
decide at that time, we look at 2017-02, we look at it, let's just say, and we're like, that's pretty good, but it just needs enforced.
Okay.
Then, you know, that evening, we could like remind people that, you
Yeah, so
know,
if you're
this
making
is what it
changes, there won't be a
says.
resolution. Yes,
Right.
Oh, right, that's what
But we
in
can still
place.
say we're looking
Yeah.
at,
Well, then
and we may be bringing something to council.
But,
Just to say
but you're
we
right,
are
by December the 1st, it needs to be in place,
Yes.
and people need to know.
It needs to go right with.
Because that's when our
Yeah.
stuff
That's
goes.
what I think the legislation shows, that the way it's written right now.
Is this town meeting, got a time length, or can this just, is it like a different?
I looked
forum?
into that, there's not a restriction on the town.
Oh, I better bring coffee.
We had one.
Bring stuff.
Can we take a break in the middle?
We had a
Yeah, can
town
we go
meeting.
and have a cigarette break,
Yeah.
please?
We had a
Yeah.
town meeting once with the police department one time, first on council, and we allowed for 2 hours.
Do we have a time, like, for Frank's presentation? Do we know how long his presentation?
He hasn't, he's creating it as we speak, so.
And what's good
I've
is he'll
looked
be there to
into it.
answer questions
Yes.
too.
Right.
And he's done this 100 times, he said.
I'll just-
He did when South Charleston did it. He said he's prepared, he knows what he's gonna say, he knows how to.
He says that he's used to being like the
Yeah.
bad guy or whatever, but, you know, even in the study, it mentions, the rate studies and I forget the word that he used, but basically that, you know, there was not questionable, but, the rate studies showed projections that were not realistic for projected
Is that a
revenue.
mediator at town hall meetings, or does it matter?
That part I don't know, I just know that anybody, it's gonna be open to the floor, because I had reached out to the Madison Press guy, and he
I think
attends
Bob's
Plain
got a
City Hall.
question too back there.
Yes, Bob?
So if the rates change on December 1st, they'll actually be on the January 1st bill, right? Okay.
Yep.
And I think that's, you know, like when he said in effect or in place by January 1st, I think that's what he's meaning. So about a moderator, I do think that we're gonna have to have some type of moderator and, you know, give people an opportunity to speak, but obviously we can't let things get out of hand
Right.
also.
Yeah. So
And
there'll be a police.
I think having a deputy on hand or something like that, but we also need, I don't want to say someone with a gavel, but someone who at least can take control if need be. People need a chance to speak and voice their
I
opinion.
remember the town hall meeting, by the time we done away with the police department, basically, we picked 2 council members and the mayor, and they were there to help whoever was gonna be the speaker. That's how we did it at that time, so.
You mean help, like they walk out in the audience? Or?
Yeah. And you also have one person watching the door in case someone gets out of
walking
hand. So people get, I remember we had one person who came quite at us.
What, couldn't they just stand up here and talk, I mean, put that microphone
Just
up
like they
here?
would if they're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
council
I
for a
think
concern.
They should get out of their seat and go to a microphone,
think,
because
yeah.
it could get out of control if people.
They
And that's
just-
happened before, when people start yelling and things. I think if coming up, I think it's a good idea to come up and speak in this microphone. But,
Somebody else made a comment about that, I think it was one of the press people. They said that, you know, because if you're watching it from YouTube and people are sitting down, they don't know who that person is.
Right.
So they suggested that they actually come to the microphone, because I've seen in past council meetings that you guys had, or you guys, but the village has had, and they come up here, introduce themselves, and then state what they said.
I know how quickly it can get out of control very quickly.
And two, it's always been, you know, like policy that they have to be a village resident, like, you know what council before. I mean, you have to fill out the paper, but then you have to like get up and say your name and where you live, because like if you're out, let's say if you're from McClimatsville or whatever,
You gotta prove your
you
resident.
really don't have a horse in the race, but maybe you just like the drama. I don't know. You know what I mean?
No, but that's unfortunately.
I've seen enough from the police
But
department
that's
that
what I've heard. I
time.
mean, I'm not really on that much social media, but that's what I've heard. Is sometimes the things that are starting to stir things up are from non-residents or
Yes.
whatever.
Mhm.
And, you know, and we just,
Don't get started on that, Courtney.
Yes.
You got our question, Bob?
No, actually, it's suggestion.
yes.
Can Frank be the moderator?
I'm sure he could.
There you go.
That
Because
might be a
he's
question
experienced
for
in it.
him.
He's
Oh,
he's not good. He's less likely to take things personally.
Right.
Oh, he's nice.
Yeah, that's what he said, is he can handle the anger of the crowd. It's a good idea.
But I will say, I do
Because if you have
understand,
the mayor or council member, somebody's gonna attack you.
yeah,
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Because Frank, they're
That's true, that's a nice neutral party.
I do understand the anger.
Yeah.
You know, me as a resident,
Yeah, you hate
oh, I'm
it
not
too.
in that.
It's-
But still,
this is
I
funny.
understand, they have a right to be angry.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they really do.
I had no summer in the swimming pool that time, and I was on that, and I thought they was gonna throw all the council in the water if they could. So I've been there. I've been on that side of the coin. It's tough.
It is gonna be, yeah, you're gonna have to grow that
They
thick
came in
skin.
there that night.
Well, just, you know, we've had time to let it sink in a little bit, and it still makes most of us sick or angry what the village is gonna have to, we're residents too, you know, and we understand. I mean, I was going, like, part of what I did was go through all the old minutes of 13 where I had an engineer stand up and say there won't be any more rate increases to pay for the plant and things like that. You know, and I was in the audience a lot back then, so I remember that. You know, it's been sinking in for a year or so, ever since I first started realizing that this would be a topic coming up at some point. And now that it's here, it still eats away at me. I mean, you know, my stomach's constantly kind of in knots, but it's just, you know, and for somebody that maybe didn't even realize that this was going to be on the on the agenda for your first year on council, but just thank you for your, you know, doing, as I said, everything that you're doing to help serve the community.
My first year on council, we had the swimming pool, the police. I felt like General Custer. Everything came at us.
My biggest concern is I definitely want to, before anything gets passed, definitely get with the public. You know, all the ones that's going to affect everybody on the utilities, and talk with them, and get everything, get them totally informed as to everything that's going on, and everything that we have. And this is the reason why we've got to do this, and at least inform them.
Well, the residents need to be told, and which everybody should know, everything that we are talking about, our minutes from way back then, what got us to this point, is all public record. All they do is make requests, it's in our minutes. You know, everything it's out there, that's the truth, and they can read it for themselves.
But but unfortunately, all those different things, even though there's improprieties and everything else, the loans were approved and we are responsible. And if we want to see the village stay together, we have to make sure that emergency repairs are covered, that the debt is covered, that operation expenses are covered, period. And that's the financial responsibility of council. You know, we make the financial decisions, but those are some of the, we want to make sure, I mean, I love this village. I want to see it prosper. You know, so the reasons I originally ran for council. And yet to do so at this moment is unfortunate, you know, like you said, a burden on these residents and businesses and things like that. But it also makes me want to work harder. How can we increase it? How can we sell more water? A guy that we were just talking to a little bit ago found out how it was the best water he ever got. That
And?
tank full of
I had
water.
somebody say, sell bottled
It'll be
water.
awesome if
Oh,
we
we
could
could
go.
call it Sterling water.
Now, wouldn't it be awesome if we could go in another year and say, hey, we're giving you some money back?
That
You know?
is great, would be, you know, how can we sell more tankers full of water?
And we're not gonna be able to, you know, suppress everybody. I mean, everybody's, and see, I've heard the opposite. You know, just because I hear it all the time, you know, and it's because they're angry, yeah. And what they say is, you know, that's the worst water I ever drank. I don't even put it in my coffee. I don't even use it to cook with. I mean, I had an elderly lady tell me that Friday. And, you know, I've heard the opposite. Now, a guy said, wow, it's great, it's in my pool, it's really
So
soft.
that's
and
the
stuff.
one, yeah, because he bought it straight from the water plant.
Yeah, so,
This is the one I was talking to a little bit ago.
yeah, and he had, well, I don't know if it's the same guy, but he was like, yeah, it works really well with the chlorine and stuff because, it is chlorinated.
It's
And
so
then I add-
clear the whole summer.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, you have a lot of people that have mixed emotions on, I mean, I've even seen it on Facebook. Well, now that they're going to increase the $50, is the water going to be better? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like,
and
that's
threats that everyone
Yes.
should move, and,
Yes.
well, there's lots of people that would buy their houses and move.
There was another house that just sold in
Yeah.
4 days.
I do
Yeah.
want to request again, because I've requested a couple times, but because I think it would be important piece to have when Frank's here is the comparison rate for across Ohio, where we were so much lower prior to this. That once this increase happens, I think we're just going to be in the average group. Because people like me, because I said it to Frank, like, oh, our water rates are already high. And he's like, are you kidding me? Because that's what everyone
Yeah,
says. Everyone's like, our rates are higher than it is. And then he's like, no, they're not. This is Ohio. And
Yeah, you guys are
See,
way
I want
here.
to see that because I did a search on Ohio EPA 2016 report, and it's a PDF available online. Looking at it, I still am not 100% convinced that that's going to put us right in the medium. I think that's going to put us in a higher rate,
Right.
but I might have read it wrong.
Okay.
So I don't want to,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, it is, if you do a search, you'll
Well,
find
Lisa
it.
can see that we were below before. I mean, even
It
before.
Sometimes.
It shows everything, the water and the sewer, what the
You had it
median
good.
is, and then every single community. It's
Yeah.
really beneficial.
Yeah, I'd like that at
But then
least
for him to show it also to the residents, but I know when I looked at it, at first I thought, look at this, I thought we were right in the middle with the current rates. And I must have looked at something wrong, so I didn't go back and double check, because I haven't said anything, but it's available online, it is so clear, I thought it was, maybe not, because I might have misread it, but it is available online to take a look at too, so you can look at it for yourself, and every single community is on there.
Okay. And do they all combine water and sewer?
No, it's the water, it's one report
And the sewer
for every single community, it shows you what the median is and everything for the last, as long as you submit, each community submitted a report, it's gonna show, it shows like 16, 15, 14, 13, for the last 5 years. And then there is then a whole separate section for the sewer. Anything else? Any questions or concerns? So, okay, next meeting will be a week from Wednesday at 5 o'clock, Town Hall. And at this point, I'll say meeting adjourned, and thank you all very much.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
They had none but ours.
I'll send a reminder out to everybody.
Thank you.
And I'll get these.
She always has to to me.
So more homework, look at the ordinances, look at others online if you find them. And Courtney will email out our current one that is, we're supposed to be following.
I'll see you later, Warren.
Yep, all right, see you, David.
I'll see y'all later.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye, Dave.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and lock these doors.
All right. Can I go out?
Okay.
Thanks, Becky.
All right, let me make sure.
See you guys later.
Some of these,
I'm sorry? Yeah, you can plug me.
we'll start with the non-village stuff.
Okay.
This is it, I'm wide open, boy.
I know this is going to be probably, how can you get the flavor of teas without using teas?
Well, that's a heck of a question.
I
I'm sorry. That's really cute.
What I would do, personally,
don't like teas. Well, just some things,
yeah, I don't know.
you want
either.
flavor, but
I would puree it, because I don't think there's an herb that tastes like peas. I would personally
I was thinking
puree it.
about just using the juice. I mean,
How do you say that
How to
again?
get the flavor of peas without using the juice?
I don't know if you should just use the juice, because honestly, the
That's
juice
really
in
cute.
corn
That's
peas
pure, Rebecca.
just tastes kind of like salt water. It doesn't absorb the flavor. I would
Can't do it.
personally puree it to where the liquid.
Oh, I got
you know,
those away.
put that in whatever it is.
well,
Yeah.
like I was thinking about going on for goulash.
That's definitely
And,
what I
and
do.
they need to be flavored, but
Yeah, that's my
I
recommendation.
think peas are the second worst vegetable,
What's the first?
lima beans.
Oh, yeah, I hate lima beans, that's my first worst. I like peas, but lima beans I hate. I hate lima beans.
So like I said, I was trying to figure out whether if I could just use juice. I figured it probably wouldn't work, but
Yeah, I would
don't they just, they must use frozen peas or something.
Probably.
And they come out, and even after they stir fry, they're hard as bricks. You can use them as a weapon.
Oh yeah, they do. They definitely use probably frozen peas and frozen